think the whole BP deal is also a lot of marketing for BP. For them, 100 million is nothing. It's significant in the supercharging arena. They don't earn that much money on the oil in the downstream part of their business. All their distribution around highways, they earn their money on the food. So I think it's a very good sign that these kind of companies are actually seeing the benefit of putting superchargers into their premises.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tesla Fix. Today we have a very special interview with Florian Minderop from MisterGreen, where I'm located in Amsterdam right now. We're going to talk about BP getting into the charging business with Tesla, and as well we're going to take an outlook into the whole EV industry and how it's developing. So stay tuned for this episode.
Welcome to Tesla Fix. Make sure to subscribe and like this episode.
Hi Florian, thank you for making or doing this interview right now, because I have many questions regarding, of course, BP, what's happening recently. And this is one of the topics I want to cover, as well as things about the whole industry itself, the electric mobility segment. How is it growing? Is it so dangerous that EV demand is shrinking? What do you do as a leasing company in that sense? That would be probably pretty interesting for the audience to see. So Florian, maybe you can just tell the audience what you're doing with MisterGreen, in what sense. I mean, some of them already know because we did already an interview a few weeks ago. Yeah, maybe you can just start by giving a short, brief overview what MisterGreen is operating in, so people have the context.
Yeah, well, thank you for interviewing me again. Coming over to Amsterdam.
Yes.
We are in our headquarters right now, so very nice to have you here.
Thanks.
We are at the headquarters of MisterGreen. MisterGreen is actually in 4 countries right now. We are headquartered in the Netherlands, but we're also in Denmark, in Belgium, and in Germany right now. And our goal is to expand to the whole of Europe, but also to go overseas to the United States, where you have a lot of followers as well.
Yeah.
MisterGreen is a 15-year-old company. Our mission is to end fossil fuels. We think we're gonna really get to this goal. When we started, we were very naive. We thought we have this pretty goal. Why did we have this goal? Why did we have this mission? I am a son of an entrepreneur. He worked his whole life in Venezuela for 40 years. So I was born in Venezuela, soy venezolano. I was in love with the oil industry. So that's something that kept on going in my inner soul. I don't know why, but...
Yeah, of course, it like imprinted on you when you grew up, that you were in this area and the surroundings, the smells and everything. I mean, this triggers probably...
Yeah, subconsciously, it's something that I have to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it with a lot of fun. And we're definitely going to do it for many more years. And well, I've actually worked in the oil industry after studying economics and working at a bank. And then I learned I have to do something about it.
Because you've seen how crazy and also dirty the industry is.
So I learned that 1 liter of gasoline, it only is being used for like 2 or 3%, because it's so inefficient. But because the oil is so dense, it doesn't matter. There's such a high energy efficiency that it doesn't matter that the combustion engine is totally inefficient. So I learned a lot about the internal combustion engine. I'm not a mechanic, I'm not an engineer, but I learned it's very inefficient.
About the fuel especially.
And I also learned it was like at the end of its technology curve, because it has been developed, and the last 10, 20 years it's a stagnation. So then I learned about electric transport, but it wasn't really there yet. So I started with some small 2-wheelers, electric. And then I met my co-founder, Mark, and he was doing something with 2-wheelers as well. And 5 years later, we started our company as is what it is right now. And within those 5 years, we were like the front runners in electric transport in Amsterdam, here in the Netherlands. We set up charging stations for the municipality, but also for the government around the big highways. And we started with cars. And the banks were saying, yeah, we don't believe in the cars, etc. So we said, well, why don't we start our own bank? Why don't we start our own leasing company? And we're going to accumulate cars. So that was the start of our company, whatever it is right now, MisterGreen Lease. And we started with Nissan Leafs, and a year later we met Elon Musk in one of his factories in Fremont. And we came back to the Netherlands. We said, yes, let's be the first company in the Netherlands buying Teslas. So I think we were one of the first buying 50 Teslas from them in 2013. And as of now, we have 5,000 Teslas in our fleet. And every year we thought, shall we do another company? Shall we do another car? And we've seen a lot of manufacturers come by, but we always had the knowledge that Tesla will be a lot more better than the rest. Not only in the charging infrastructure, but also the batteries, the efficiency, etc. And as of 4 years, the whole FSD part, so whole autonomy part. And that's what we are focusing on right now. We're building a Robo Taxi fleet, and we are learning a lot. We're selling FSD in the Netherlands. FSD is still an alpha version, so now it's not the beta version, which the US, the Americans already are trying. One of our old colleagues is in the US right now, and he tried FSD, and he was like completely amazed by how good it is compared to what it is here in Europe. But we are already front running on what's going to happen here in Europe. We believe the regulation will be in place somewhere next year or beginning of the year after. So we are ready for FSD, and our goal is to get to 15,000 cars. So we were ready for having a 15,000 car Robo Taxi fleet. That's a little bit of our story in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. We've also covered that in the last interview a little bit with the plans. And I always say what amazed me the most was the thought of actually utilizing the robotaxis. I mean, this is very much a gamble as well to when will be FSD released, but it makes so much sense as a leasing company to do that. That's why that astonished me the most. That's what I got drawn into. But I think now the first question I want to get into is with what BP announced recently. I mean, they said, okay, they're going to invest heavily into electrification as well. They already did some plans before that, and we've heard from other fossil fuel companies going into, we're going to make some charging stations, because they kind of, I don't know, the market kind of shakes right now because we have those huge developments in sales of electric vehicles. So how do you see that BP now partners with Tesla in that sense, buys them and the infrastructure, and to also utilize on top of their infrastructure, this electric charging infrastructure? How do you see that? Can we trust BP? Is that a good thing that the oil companies now want to join in? Is that because you, with your background in fossil fuels, it's super interesting to hear your thoughts on this, because you have a great insight into the industry. So how do you view that, actually?
Yeah, well, as always, every news of Tesla grabs me, and this was one of those. I've been studying it for 2 days, I think, when the news came out. We as MisterGreen, we have a history of building superchargers along highways. For 8 years, we sold our company to Fastnet, one of the biggest European fast charging providers in Europe. And we already did a lot of Teslas. So we actually told people, if you lease a Tesla with us, you can have free supercharging at our superchargers.
Okay.
But we were in talks with Tesla of, if we want to get on your navigation system, because, and they said, yeah, we will do that, But it took time. And then we also asked, we would like to buy the superchargers from you guys, because we think it's the best experience in the whole ecosystem. It's not only uptime, which is like almost 100%, but also without having to pay, without having to download an app. It's just the car plugging in and it's done. It's the best experience you can imagine. So we were in the market for a long time. And in that market, there were also oil companies buying competitors. So we looked at that with the same way that you just described. But I think we learned that it's a good sign that they're doing it. And of course, there's always a marketing issue around it, and they already have the permits, they already have the housing, and etc. So I think it's good. It's very interesting to see that Tesla is actually going to set up this kind of deals, because they never did it. They, for like 12 years, never sold a supercharger. And now they're in the game of selling superchargers. So that's a new revenue stream. The first thing I did was I went to LinkedIn to get into my Tesla contact, the supercharging contact from, hey, can we buy them as well? I didn't have any answer yet. So I think it's pretty early for Tesla to roll this out globally, but it's a very nice sign for every entrepreneur out there to think of how they can earn money on getting superchargers from Tesla. And I think Tesla is the cheapest provider of supercharging stations, in combination with, and which is even more interesting, is that their cars and their customers are actually coming to your premises and they're going to buy stuff from you there. So that's even more interesting than the superchargers themselves. It's the whole ecosystem around that, which is interesting. And I also think that Tesla has a leverage because they have their navigation system. And if somebody is not making sure that the uptime is 100%, they will be kicked off of the map. So it's a fascinating business case. And I think this is just the beginning. And it's something that I always thought it would never happen, or because I asked multiple times, and now it's there. So now it's very interesting for entrepreneurs to look at the possibilities and the network effect this will give, because I mean, they are the cheapest, so they are gonna not only do this deal with BP, but also with Shell or whoever who owns gas stations will buy chargers from them as of now. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Interesting. I mean, for me, somehow, I kind of, because I'm more from the emotional side, from marketing and everything, so I'm thinking about all the scandals that BP did, and I know they try to replenish and go back to like have a greenwashing kind of, but I think this, you can't really deny that this move, because you also said 100 million is nothing for them, because of course, how much oil they are accumulating and producing and getting out of the ground in one day, they could easily make a lot of money when you look at the global numbers of fossil fuel companies, how much revenue they generate from one day even. But the oil industry is also like a political space that is tied to war pretty much. So also catastrophes in the environment. I mean, BP's built, like, they had this huge oil spill in the ocean, and today we kind of forgot that somehow. And but now with this news, I'm a little bit hesitant to accept that. Okay, now why should BP do that? I kind of want them to fail in some sense. But that's just an emotional side. But I also view this that this is the path in the right direction, and maybe they can shift their own business if they see that, okay, the revenue will go down, but the oil market changed then, and the fossil, I mean, of course, they're going to produce plastics, for example. That's also something you need fuel for and stuff like this. But do you also see that the industry will going to shrink the oil industry more and more? You already see this trajectory, or because you know in which areas the oil industry operates, and it's just cars or fuel for cars. It's for ships, hard diesel. I'm not sure how it's called. For ships, diesel, ship diesel, like heavier ship diesel.
Bunker oil.
Bunker oil, yeah. Okay, yeah. How do you see that? That the oil industry are they going to reduce and come to a halt? And yeah, how do you see that?
Yeah, I think where you started with, you always have to keep in mind with which guys we're talking with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, of course, you should be aware, and for them, it's also free marketing. They could use it to kill it, for example. I mean, they have shown in their past that they bought industries just to kill it in order for them to expand their own market. But I think in this case, it's like you're selling something to the enemy and they're paying for it. Mm-hmm. So this is actually ingenious from Tesla. I mean, Tesla's goal is to accelerate renewable energy. And now the company who is actually being fought against is actually buying the stuff from Tesla. So
and disrupting the industry. Tesla is disrupting the industry, huge disruptor for the oil industry.
Yeah.
But now we have a partnership. It's kind of like unprecedented. It's
exactly. So that's the huge part of this announcement. It's amazing to see that they're actually putting money into the guys who are actually disrupting them. So. But these guys are huge. And I think what Elon Musk also said, I mean, we are still a society which depends a lot on oil. And you see it with the Ukraine war. Mm-hmm. We're still very dependent on Russian gas, and we still need it. And we can't just stop with it. But I do think that the rise of renewable energies will be so dramatic, and we will see an exponential curve of adoption, because of the exponential decrease in cost of this energy. I mean, solar energy at this moment is cheaper than any other energy source out there. But the problem with solar is that you can't put it into a tank. Mm-hmm. You need batteries. And we have too little batteries yet, but soon, or as the moment is that there are enough batteries and cheap batteries, that's the moment that oil is going to lose. But I think the strategy of the oil companies at this moment is to actually expand the time of renewables coming into place. And while doing that, they will expand their investments into renewable energy sources and also this space. I think for their downstream business, so selling gas to cars, they will see that that will diminish pretty fast. So they are also seeing that the numbers of cars actually being sold, the electric vehicle space, so the market share of electric cars is expanding exponential. And I think what we're seeing in Norway right now, which is an oil company, I mentioned you, they are selling 90% is electric cars. So Volkswagen stopped selling ICE cars as of 2024 in Norway.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's huge news.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and Norway is only like 4 years in front of the Netherlands. And the Netherlands is only like 2 or 3 years in front of the United States market in terms of battery adoption, battery vehicle adoption. And of course, we see a little downward curve at this moment, and the big media outlets are already saying, the electric vehicle adoption rate is killed.
Yeah.
And it's always been something from China, and it's bad for the environment, blah, 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 blah. But it's all because I think it's because of the interest cost. The interest rates are rising dramatically, and that's having its impact on the car industry. But not only the ICE car market, but also the electric vehicle market. But as soon as macroeconomics are going to change, and I think that it will change within, 12, maybe 16 months, we will see an exponential curve again. So, no, I'm not too worried about this stagnation in EV demand, and I don't think it's there at all.
Yeah,
it's just as Tony Seba said. It's cost curves are like gravity. It's going down, and we have seen it for 5-6 years already. The cost of a battery, it was like €1,000 a kilowatt, and now it's under 100.
That's crazy, yeah.
In 6 years, so it's diminished by a tenfold, and it will do it in the next 10 years again. It will. So it's an unfair battle for the ICE industry. So oil is going to be. It's still everywhere. There's enough oil for the next century. That's not the problem. But I think it's going to be too expensive. So it's not only because we want to become green. I mean, a lot of people don't even care, but everybody cares about their cost.
Yeah.
Everybody cares about their own wallet. And it's not only the wallet. I mean, it's also a better experience overall. And if we are getting into autonomous driving, it will be even better.
Yeah.
So people just still say to me, yeah, but I like driving myself. I just enjoy it so much. But they don't know yet how much of enjoyment you get of driving with FSD. Can you watch your phone? What's bigger, your addiction to your phone or your
fun to drive?
Fun to drive, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think
that's going to be the battle.
Yeah, totally. The phone or the driving experience. But it's crazy how now we could really see the shift. Overall, if you look at the developments of Tesla and how they disrupt the market, I mean, they pushed electric vehicles almost like 10 years or 15 or 20 years ahead, I would say. And if it wasn't for Tesla, I think the electric vehicle market would stagnate so much because nobody went in so hardcore like Tesla. They really jumped in and took huge risks. And I don't see established companies even trying this kind of risks. And I mean, BMW, for example, had great developments with their i3, the smaller BMW that they did before, city vehicle, also with carbon fiber. They really thought about the product, and then suddenly they kind of killed that. Of course, maybe it didn't fit the brand. I wouldn't consider that like a normal BMW or what you're used to, because you want the sportiness and everything, bigger vehicle as well. But it was the right move to go into a direction. Maybe they could have done that with their other brand, Smart, and shift. No, not Smart. Mini. I mean, shifted that to Mini, the developments. But seeing that the ICE industry, including the legacy car manufacturers, having trouble to adapt now with their huge ship. They don't want to take risks because there are so many dependencies. They relied on their supplier network. And suddenly there comes a startup that tries to vertical integrate every bottleneck they have in their supply chain. And that's their biggest advantage because they have the knowledge now. And especially now with Tesla doing the refinery. How do you view this development? Because the refinery is interesting in that case, that Tesla is like a Silicon Valley startup software company. I also view them this way as well, besides the superb manufacturing. They're gonna, in my opinion, disrupt also the refining industry, because they're going to take this knowledge and this automation level of automation they already are implemented with their AI capabilities they already have in-house, and adapt that to refinery actually. And then they have a model that they can show the refinery industry and say, please do that. We don't want to do it ourselves actually, but we have to because this is a bottleneck. So how do you view this, the Tesla that goes into refining and refining of the contents of course, battery production?
It's fascinating, of course. I mean, it's amazing that they always look at their bottlenecks and they just go after it. And I think Elon asked in 3 subsequent earnings calls, please, is there somebody who is going to do the refinery for us? And he probably didn't get the answer he wanted. So then he decided, let's do it ourselves. And they've been doing that all through their value chain. I mean, they decided to make their own batteries. They decided to make their own chips. They decided to make their own seats on top of their batteries. They decided to make,
the list goes on.
The list goes on and on. And it's amazing how Elon knows everything into detail of everything, and not including SpaceX or any other venture he is talking about. So I think that's the core of Tesla. It's an engineering company, and they attract the top engineers. So they are capable of doing this kind of expanding of their value chain because they have the top engineers. And I'm not very good at the refining business, so I'm not able to tell what they're actually going to do there, but I'm following it and I'm learning. I was actually thinking of maybe I should start an own refining company.
Because he said it so well.
Yeah. So maybe
print money.
Maybe we're going to do it one day. But I'm not very knowledgeable in that area. So, but it's amazing that they're doing it, and they're actually putting their money where their mouth is, and really getting ahead of the market again, and really solving the bottleneck. And it's still amazing to learn from the mass media that they're just talking about batteries. There's a lot of cobalt in there, and it's bad for the environment, and it's not good for the children in Africa. But there's less cobalt in a battery of a car than in your iPhone. So and by a magnitude of 100, I believe. So that's amazing how they accomplished that already. And they're such they don't score that high on the ESG standards, but they're so mission driven that this is just completely normal business for them to get the cobalt out of the battery. And of course, because they're also very cost driven, and cobalt is very expensive. So that's their number one metric, to get everything as cheap as possible. And I think because they are so good at getting things cheaper and getting all the excess stuff in the process out of the process, the whole way of thinking in Tesla, and not only Tesla, but also in SpaceX. I think that's the basis also for your refinery business case. I think they're very good at just analyzing, okay, what's happening here?
How can we improve it?
Hey, this is crazy. Why is all these parts added? And I think that's one of the reasons that they said we're going to do it ourselves, because probably there are a lot of traders in the whole value chain adding cost, but not really adding value.
Interesting.
So I think that's the reason that they are doing it. But it's not the most. Well, I have no idea about. Maybe they're going to invent something that we don't even thought about. And maybe it's. If you look at SpaceX. What are they going to do with SpaceX? They're going to go to the rest of the universe to do some mining. So maybe this is a test case for what they're going to do
in space,
in the rest of the universe. Maybe that's the reason that they're doing. They just are learning here what they need to do in the rest of the universe. Could be.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, with Elon's vision horizon.
His 4D chess. It could be that's something that we haven't thought about at all yet.
Yeah.
And then in 10 years we'll say, that was the reason they were doing it.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, let's see how this is going to unfold. But it's interesting to also, this shows again like the company culture that also fascinates me so much, that the engineers are in a great environment to do something. I mean, of course, Tesla has also had a high, it's improved quite a bit, but still has a high burn-through rate of the workers because it's so demanding as a company. But
there was a whole story in Handelsblad about it.
Did you remember what was the headlines about that? Or
that there was a high-pressure environment at Tesla compared to the SOFA environment at Volkswagen.
Startup. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's interesting. I've also compared the anti-handbook from Tesla to the compliance handbook from VW that you get as a worker, and I compared them. The one from Tesla is 2 to 3 pages long, and the one from Volkswagen is 25 pages long. And when you go through it, you get a sense of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. But we are totally free, and everything in their claims they write that. But overall, when it comes down, it's more like, of course, compliance. It's just compliance. You have to, and then I think people start. This is their kind of first contact with the company, and then they have to agree to this, and then more and more, I think there is an inner resignation inside that people just stop using their own head and just being in their lane, and that's a very German cultural thing.
to stay in your lane, don't stick your head out, or it gets chopped off. Like Herbert Diess, for example, that really was vocal about the change that need to happen, and he was at least in that sense a visionary.
He was a hero.
Yeah, to say, hey guys, if we don't keep up now, we're gonna have to cut 20,000 jobs in Wolfsburg at some point.
Yeah,
and this, of course, was a shock for the that he was so vocal and public about this.
Yeah,
that Volkswagen, the board of directors cut him off immediately, relatively soon, and also the Porsche P family, which also they have so many internal conflicts with the family that grew and grew over the years, and now we have so many stakeholders in this company that it's a giant that's so slow to move.
It's Rheinfalen-Westfalen, which is the county, which is also a shareholder.
Yeah, the Workers' Council has also a huge say, and of course, when Herbert Diess talks about cutting jobs, the Workers' Council are the last ones that want to hear something like this.
Yeah.
So they're already opposing this, what you said. And then what the problem is, if you don't have a great core product, which we clearly could see at VW, that they in China, what happened? I mean, they lost market share like crazy, and now it's going to get cheaper and cheaper. Look how cheap our Volkswagen are, and it has no value for the Chinese. They say it's not a piece of technology.
No.
Where's the over-the-air updates? And I mean, even if they could crack the over-the-air updates, they have many problems with the software still with CARIAD. It was a huge disaster. So let's see how this will unfold. But
I think everybody makes the mistake that if you're able to make an ICE car, you're also able to make an EV car. But it's a completely different product with completely different suppliers. And I think the auto industry has been consolidated and has been managed all for 100 years. And they are not more than a branding company and an assemblation company. And all the other stuff is actually in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers outsourced. And that's one of the things that Tesla disrupted. They said, we're going to establish ourselves in the car market, but we're not going to bring a car. Mm-hmm. It looks like a car, but it's not a car. It's a robot on wheels. Yeah. It's a computer on wheels, but it has nothing to do with the car. Mm-hmm. So it's all made, and you see it in the book of Elon, where he said we are all in on autonomy. Mm-hmm. So I think from the birth of Tesla, I don't know for sure, but they were already thinking of this thing should be different than what's on the market already. We're not bringing a car. We're just entering a market which is huge, and we bring another completely different product. Mm-hmm. And the whole car is from an architecture. It's completely different. Mm-hmm. And I think at this moment there aren't any manufacturers yet who have the same computer into the car. They don't even have over-the-air updates. There are few. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's already 10 years ago that the Model S came on the market. So, no, I think that's the whole difference. And I think the whole mobility market is going to change. I mean, if you listen to the CEO of NVIDIA, he also says cars are going to be like software embedded vehicles, and the car itself, the hardware, is just the installed base. Mm-hmm. But the service which is going to offer, that's where the money is. Mm-hmm. And that's all going to be software based and service based. It's the thing itself. I don't even want to call it a car anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just the installed base. And I think we're going to see a radical change in the way we look at transport and the way we're going to earn money with it. Mm-hmm. So, and that's something that's one of the reasons that we kept on, and that's what we learned throughout the years. Hey, this is something completely different. It looks like a car, but it's like a Trojan horse. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there are so many different revenue streams. And we're seeing that with the Supercharger deal, another revenue stream. Mm-hmm. And we will see multiple revenue streams getting into the marketplace around this battery. Mm-hmm. I mean, here even in the Netherlands, there was in the financial newspaper today that we're going to see a whole new business case for batteries on wheels, because it's going to be like a giant storage system. And the grid is actually collapsing also in the Netherlands because of all the alternative energies coming onto the grid. The grid is actually collapsing. So we need storage. And with bidirectional charging, we have storage on wheels. So it's not a car anymore, it's storage on wheels. And people are not going to buy the car anymore because of the car, but because they can put their solar into the battery and get charged even more instead of...
or even drive around on the side. You could see that,
we'll see. Well, maybe we will see pubs on cars. We can go crazy about that. But I think that's the basis. It's just a whole different thing. And I think the ICE car manufacturers know this. They know it's something different. And they know they're not able to do it. So I think it's the same story as the oil companies. They still have a lot of money. They still have a lot of network. And they should think about that. But eventually, I think they will license a lot of stuff from Tesla. So Tesla will become like the Intel of cars, just like Ron Barron said. I think the branding of the cars is still very valuable. BMW, Audi, Volkswagen, the branding is still very valuable. But I think they have to be careful, because maybe Volkswagen is going to be like, that's something from the last century.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also see that that's a huge point you mentioned here, because what the problem is with marketing is marketing is just a layer on top of a great product. If you don't have a great product to sell, people will notice at some point, especially in the age of the internet. Before that, you could tell anything on the news. And sometimes those shitstorms were kind of closed down to a region, or very not viral globally. And now you can really have millions of eyeballs witnessing like a failure of an over-the-air update, or I have to bring my VW at the dealership to make an USB drive update by the service, and it costs me this amount of money. And
it's crazy.
It takes 2 days and stuff like that. And if something like this comes out, people won't connect with their marketing claim anymore, that you could say, like Volkswagen, the people's car, it's too expensive, or or Audi, Vorsprung durch Technik. So like a leap forward through technology. It's a bad translation, but but something like this, if it doesn't have the technology inside, people will view that, and suddenly it, from one point to another, it just crashes into the whole opposite direction. So they say it's just marketing, blah blah, and then people don't follow the brand anymore, and the perception of the brand gets skewed. So if you don't have a good core product, you cannot leverage the product with marketing. But that's the whole point. You have to be product centric,
and I think it's
customer centric at first, to do, of course, and the product must match with the customer needs. That's pretty important in that sense. Yeah,
and I mean, you're an expert in marketing, but what is marketing, and what is a brand? And how is that going to evolve? Is there still something like a brand, or is it more something personal? Or, I mean, with social media coming up, it's going to be different. I think that's also interesting.
Yeah.
Are brands still the most? Of course, they're still the most powerful
differentiator.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an interesting topic to talk about brand. I mean, the Tesla brand is, of course, very, very big. It's one of the biggest at this moment. But
it's interesting.
But I think the Elon Musk brand is bigger than the Tesla brand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it. It's
you know what you mean.
Is the Tesla brand still as strong if Elon Musk is not there anymore? So what's a brand? And why are people still buying something because of the brand? I think people are buying something because of the product.
The thing is with branding is that people associate something with the brand, and then they recognize this brand, and it's just a differentiation factor in the market. Because if you have a EV that looks similar to a Tesla but has different branding, for example, or if you even look at cars and you leave out the branding, suddenly a strange thing happens. You suddenly don't have the same feeling towards the product. Then, so there is psychology in play here that is affecting the perception that or the user feeling of the car. So there is something there that is still relevant and will be always relevant, I think. But the problem is it's just a signaling of a certain message. But if your product doesn't align with those claims and those feelings you try to want to get, then there happens a divide, and this divide totally falls in the wrong direction. Then, so this means that you can really go far with marketing, but you cannot. It's not magic. It's not witchcraft. You cannot force people into wanting your product with marketing. It has to work in the next thing. The customer experience at the end of this chain that you have. Oh, I want to have this product. I want to feel like the person. For example, Apple advertises pretty interestingly. They don't really talk about specs. They say it's a little bit better. It's better than the year before in that sense. It's 50%, and the charts are very abstract, almost like very visual, no data at all, just like more battery life, this and that, pretty simple, but it's the user experience they showcase all the time. Mm-hmm. What can I do with this function in my day-to-day life? And that's what people respond to. So the product itself needs to be good, but is an iPhone really better than a Samsung? If you take everything away, can it do the same features? Is Samsung maybe better in some cases? I don't know. But the perception is very important there, and what you feel with the product. And say, okay, and that's how it can be a part of my life actually. And that's like a simplification happens there. But
what is your take on the whole advertising discussion around Tesla?
So my own take on that is that many people say, advertising isn't necessary. But if you have a case where people don't know, for example, that the price of a Model 3 or Model Y is cheaper than Toyota Corolla in the US with the incentives they have, then we have a problem. There's something not communicated. And to communicate is actually a good thing, to communicate with your customer base. And it's not enough that Elon Musk tweets stuff, because then you have the problem with the political landscape that many people disagree with Elon Musk in that sense, and that also hurts the brand actually. And over the years, of course, it's about the core product and the cost. Of course, this will prevail, but still there will be few percentages that you could have gained if you did it differently. And I think education doing an educational advertising approach where you don't advertise classically like the legacy car guys are doing, that they are like selling a dream that is not even true. That's the problem. But if it aligns very well and it's more simple and very social media on the social media side, then I think this makes absolutely sense. And I also think in this debate, the term advertising is even hard for people to differentiate, because people from advertising kind of know how how the meaning actually is. And but still, when you're from different fields, it means kind of different things sometimes, or you have a different view on advertising. Is advertising classical TV commercials? Is it social media advertising? There is a reason why you can study this. It's not easy to get into marketing on the surface. It's because it's very visual. You think, okay, that's marketing. No, that's not marketing. But in Tesla, we have a marketing mix of different things. Also, Elon plays a factor as a social media influencer, but this can also hurt the brand. So I'm a little bit more careful, and I would say this has to be in some kind of control a little bit. But Tesla can do a more laid-back approach. It could work and stuff like that. So I think they should educate the public, and also being sometimes absent on marketing. For example, at the Super Bowl, Tesla wasn't present. And that's the best thing, because people start to compare. And then this was advertising for Tesla. It was like an anti-advertising way. They did actually nothing, and people bought Teslas afterwards. You could see the search spikes at Google. I've compared them. There's a great statistic about that suddenly everybody advertises and they compare it. Suddenly, okay, this product is better. I'm going to buy a Tesla. And then everybody spend advertising budget for Tesla, actually. Yeah.
That's the best advertising,
Yeah.
being absent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that case, it was.
Well, that's interesting because the Cybertruck, it doesn't have a Tesla logo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't resemble a Tesla at all. So what's your thoughts on that? Are they going to introduce a new brand, Cyber? Or are they going to be brandless? What's the idea behind this?
Yeah, the purpose of a brand actually is to differentiate your product from the rest of the competition. The Cybertruck is so, the design is so unusual that you will think of Tesla when you see the Cybertruck. You don't really need to see, because nobody else has a car like this. So if this thing drives around, people will know that's a Cybertruck from Tesla. And people
Why? If they never heard about Tesla, they don't even know there is a cheaper car than a Toyota.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Toyota. And then they see a Cybertruck and hey, that's Tesla?
No, they're gonna ask, what is that? So that's the most important thing.
So they use curiosity in order to get to their
to
brand.
explore the brand, and that's what they do. It's not about the brand. Oh, that's a Tesla, but
so it ignites something, and then you're gonna ask.
Exactly, and when you ask, then it's ingrained in your brain
forever.
Forever, yeah. And if many Cybertrucks or Cybertruck design things that you cannot differentiate, then they will put a Tesla logo on it. I can guarantee you that. So if the design changes or the design aesthetic will be adopted from any car manufacturers.
No, but that's the beauty of it. It isn't possible to make this by any other manufacturer. It's not possible. What I've learned, it's not possible. Yeah. But I'm not sure about that. But they are the only ones who can make this type of
vehicle,
looking vehicle.
Yeah, it's a totally different manufacturing process. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah.
So you also see the little sign, the triangle. Yeah. Is there something going to be with that, or because I've been noticing it more and more that hey, what's up with the triangle?
Yeah, it's just the resemblance of the emotion.
Yeah, for the Cyber.
Yeah, for the Cybertruck.
There's no deeper.
No, I'm not sure.
I'm always looking for the deeper stuff.
No. I mean,
if you order a Cybertruck, you see an O.
Okay.
But that's also a wink to a movie where the oil was in, just like all the little Easter eggs from Tesla, they're all winks to certain movies. And in that movie there is a story, and that's interesting about their brand as well, isn't it?
Yeah, they hide those Easter eggs because it's fun. I think it's fun. It's also
curiosity.
Curiosity too. So people who are adapted to the brand can even dive deeper into the Easter egg. So it's just another thing to explore. And they could leave it out like many car manufacturers do, or they could leave it in. I mean, it's a good idea. If they have an idea or Elon has an idea, they're going to put it in. I think it's a good idea to do this, because then the car is more fun. It's more gamified.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah.
And everything that sparks curiosity or gets some eyeballs or discussions or virality, because Elon is a master in viral marketing. Yeah. We would say that. And I think, all of this is kind of advertising. So it's a way to explore the brand more, and it makes sense to spark curiosity and attention to that. Yeah. But Florian, one thing, again, for the end of the episode, maybe is because Tesla slash prices so much, because their cost of goods sold, like we've discussed also here on this interview, is lowering and lowering. And now we have the situation, of course, that the interest rate is very high and Tesla slashes prices. What does that mean for a leasing business? Because you have ongoing contracts as well. What's happening there? Is it good that Tesla slashes prices? Of course, maybe for investing in new cars, it makes sense. But what is with the leasing contracts and everything? Is that problematic, or how do you see that?
For the last year, I have this feeling I'm living in two parallel worlds. So I'm living in the future, and I'm living here right now. And the reality is that interest rates has come up immense. In 8 months, it's changed from 0 Euribor to +4. It's amazing. And it impacts the whole world. And it impacts the auto industry because a car, the most cars are bought with a funding. So the demand is falling because of interest rates. And on the other side, we've been following Tesla for 10 years and we knew the cost curve was going down. So we knew every car we're buying right now is going to be more expensive than the car we're buying in 2 years.
So you already considered that?
It's in our long-term strategy. It's like a dollar cost averaging of buying a stock which is going down. So you could also wait until the cars are coming, but then
you don't have a
you don't have a
market share. You do.
Yeah, but in that's also one of the reasons that we're doing Tesla only, because Teslas as of 2018, which have the hardware 2.5, they are capable of being awakened, capable of becoming a completely self-driving car. So what we're doing right now is we're getting rid of the cars which don't have that hardware yet, and all the other cars we just keep. So for a leasing company, we are an atypical leasing company. So a leasing company, normally they buy a car, they lease it out, and then when the contract ends, they just sell the car. And then they make their money, and then they start over again. And with an electrical car, compared to an ICE car, the second term, so after 5 years, is actually very interesting because the total cost of ownership is very low. So the fuel cost and the maintenance costs are very low. So it's actually pretty interesting to have a car from 5 to 10 years old because it's not as expensive as a first car. People always make the wrong comparison that a second-hand car is less expensive than a first car. But it's not very much. It's maybe 200 euros a month, $200 a month difference, but it's not that much less because of the maintenance and the fuel. So that was one of the first reasons that we said, well, we're never going to sell cars because we want to keep those cars for 10 years, maybe 15 years. And we have seen that the battery is also, it's not an issue at all. And then we learned from Tesla as well that they were making cars which will last for 1 million miles. So that's 1.6 million kilometers. Our lease contracts are on average 20,000 kilometers a year. So divide 1.6 million through 20,000 and you have a car for 80 years. So we won't be selling our cars for 80 years. So if you make that calculation for the whole lifetime of the car, what the cost will be per kilometer, it's amazing what people are paying right now for the kilometers. They're paying way too much. So of course the cars are getting cheaper and getting better, but the cars are getting better in hardware, and therefore their cost is going down in hardware. But the best part of getting the car better is the software part. So the car is really improving because of the software. And that's the amazing part of Tesla. And that's what the CEO of NVIDIA also said, cars will become embedded software. And it's not because of the screen. It's because of the over-the-air updates. That's why a car gets better. So the whole data feedback loop you have within Tesla, if they see data coming in from cars, they say, hey, we have to change this, and then we'll get things better. So one of the examples that we had where we were in the feedback loop, we said, we have some cars, they have been stolen from us. Can you do something about that? And they said, well, we don't have any idea. What's your idea? And we said, well, maybe you have to put in a PIN to drive. So when you get into the car, you actually put a PIN code before you can start driving. And they said, hey, it's actually a pretty good idea. So now every time you step in every Tesla around the world, you have to put in a PIN in order to drive. And that decreases the amount of theft because it's not easy to steal the car anymore. So that's because of software and update. But this is just a very small idea. But also the brakes, the wipers, the airbags, everything in the car is based on an architecture of software and makes the car better throughout their lifetime. So that's completely different than a normal car, which only depreciates in value. So with that's one. And two, I think the Roadster, because they stopped production, it has an immense value at this moment. The Model S, Model X, I have no idea, but I think the 100,000 a year, that's going to be the maximum. So the value will increase in the future. And I have no idea what's going to happen with the Model Y and 3, but if the new generation pod is coming, I mean, the focus will be on this one and not on the Model 3 and Model Y anymore. So the demand will stay the same, but the supply will shrinken. So that's every time that's how we think. And that's how we think as a fleet. We've been trying out our model. We are still learning. And I think we are ready to expand this kind of thinking throughout the world. We've learned a lot, and we want to inspire other people to do the same. I think that's Tesla is actually kind of an ecosystem, a platform, whereupon every entrepreneur can do something and leverage the things Tesla is already doing. So with the superchargers, now entrepreneurs can actually buy the whole ecosystem for only buying the supercharger, and they can make money with it. With the API coming out of from the car, we can make all these kind of software based on this data. They can make solutions. Entrepreneurs can make solutions. I think the whole robo car without steering wheel is going to be like a platform upon which you're able to make your own idea of how to turn that into a entrepreneurial business.
Yeah.
The whole licensing of everything they're going to do is going to make small car companies start in the world. So I'm also very happy that we are able to inspire other people that at the fringes of the whole Tesla ecosystem, there's a lot of opportunity to set up your own company.
Pretty interesting. And also, you've mentioned that the older vehicles still hold up very well, and I've test driven one of your 2018 Model S's, P100Ds, and it's crazy how good they hold up, actually. It's from the feeling, Case, a worker from you who's the FSD expert here, helped me, and because I'm not as familiar with Teslas, because I didn't own one. I had a test drive of Model X someday and stuff like this, so I'm still learning
the brand, but I could compare it because I had a newer Model X and an older, like 2018 Model S, and it totally drove very well. The battery depreciation wasn't as much of an issue. It was like 10 or 15%, but it holds up pretty tightly. And also the charging and the whole user experience of the software was, because it's updated. Software was updated. I didn't feel it was feeling similar to the Model X that I've tested. So it's interesting to see how it's so different, because when I look at my older car that I drive, then because still I use a gasoline car, sadly, but it's no comparison. You can really see the aging of those cars. They age so fast, and with those software updates, even if the screen is different, it's horizontal, not vertical. So still you have those user experience that's pretty good. You type it in, the interfaces are newer and everything. So it's an interesting concept. I'd never experienced that, and that was interesting to see that.
Yeah, that's why we call our offering redrive. So you actually redrive a car because it already had the first lease contract, so it's your second or third. But we have a big warehouse where people can actually go to and choose their car. And we always play the game that choose the car from 2018 or from 2020 or 2000. They have no idea, because from the outside they all look the same or pretty similar. But if you get into the car, you have no idea. And if you're driving it, it feels like new.
Yeah, and also the seating in the luxurious part of the car as well, because it's a Model S. It's very high class. I also saw in your warehouse those cars with the other interior, the beige interior, for example, and very awesome cars actually, even if they are older, kind of really old, also from the detailing of the car. And also that you detail the cars and really put them like it almost feels like a brand new car.
Yeah.
You get in, like everything is clean, everything is polished, and the rims are almost looks brand new and everything. So
Yeah.
Really
So
cool.
that's something that we do in order to get the cars as good as possible.
pristine condition. Yeah.
But what Tesla is doing is just keeping their cars updated with software, and with FSD coming, and driving will be a completely different experience with FSD. I mean, you will be supervising. You won't be driving anymore. You're supervising. You're just there, and you're distracted by your phone, but it's no worries. And
less accidents.
And it's a whole different experience. And if you go back into the ICE car that you drive in, or you go back into a car, a Tesla, without FSD, and you start driving, you're actually like, this feels so old century, you know?
Yeah, it is.
I want my FSD.
Yes.
So it's also something that if you haven't experienced it yet, you don't really care for it. But if you have experienced it, you really are like, oh no, I can't go back anymore.
Yeah, that's
So-
sad for me.
Yeah, and that's something that's actually going slowly, because it's not like other things that you experience it that often. You have to get into the car to experience it. So, but if people are starting to experience it, it will have like an exponential curve, and then people will say, well, why am I still driving myself? I mean, this feels like this is so stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would like to drive, I will go drive myself, but not on the daily basis.
Yeah, it's tiring a little bit.
Yeah.
And I also worked at jobs where I had to drive a lot. I had some second sleep phases where I just started to sleep, and I was like, okay, back, and then I make a break and slept in the car for 20 minutes or something to get energized again. It was horrible. And when you do that daily, it's for daily driving, it's so much more convenient, especially in the morning when you're kind of falling asleep or something. And then a Robo or FSD, full autopilot without user input, level 5 or level 4 would be very awesome to see that. And interesting times we're heading in, Florian. So thank you very much for also doing this interview. And so I'm going to link everything of MisterGreen in the description here below. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming all the way to Amsterdam.
Yeah, thank you for your hospitality. And I really love your office here and everything. And you have great staff.
Oh, you already feel one of us. So
thanks.
you're part of our culture right now.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Florian. And
Thank you.
For the audience, of course, there was only one last thing to say, and that's goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Wasn't this episode awesome? Let's accelerate the pace of innovation by subscribing to Tesla Fix. It is my absolute favorite channel on the whole interwebs.